O'Reilly! You need parts? O'Reilly Auto Parts has parts. Need them fast? We've got fast. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back here to Kickin It With Knuble, episode 10. Mike, got another guest, former Philadelphia Flyer, current Columbus Blue Jacket, James van Riemsdyk. JVR, thanks so much for taking the time out of a busy season and schedule with Columbus, and I really appreciate you sitting down with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, guys. Again, Mike was really good to me over the course of my career, so yeah, anything I can do to get on and support the show and stuff like that, I'm happy to be here.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Good to have you back.
Yeah, it's awesome. JVR, for you, how's your season going in Columbus so far?
Yeah, so far, again, I think we started off really well out of the gates. We're in a little bit of a rough stretch here. We got to again just tighten things up. I think a little bit, find a little bit more consistency. But again, I think we're doing a lot of good things. We have a lot of younger players that are. You can tell how bad they want to take the next step in their career and all the potential that they have. So being an older guy and trying to help some guys along with that process has been fun for me as well. So yeah, hopefully we can continue to get better as the year goes on. And yeah, that's obviously, as we see around the league every year, it's the level keeps raising as you get deeper and deeper into the season.
Yeah, it's funny you just mentioned, now you're an older guy, right? Older guy helping out and trying to help the younger guys. But,
yeah.
I mean, you got young guys in there like Fantilli and, Rowinski's not like a young guy anymore. But it feels like it to me, too, because I was coaching in Grand Rapids when he broke in and ended up kind of beating us in the playoffs. They were in Cleveland and that. I was just reading the other day, he's coming up on 500 games. So certainly a talented player. And obviously Fantilli is an up-and-comer who's going to be a nice player for a long time. But talk about, Dino, what kind of, you weren't there with the coaching. They kind of had that weird stuff with Babcock last year. And then he had another coach come in and let him go. And then Dino came in. So how's Dean Evanson as a coach? And like, what's he care about the most? What are his one or two, like coaching, like isms that he really preaches all the time?
Yeah, so I think for him, the biggest thing that he's been talking about is, again, being on the right side of the puck, the jacket side, we call it. So, again, I think especially, like you mentioned, we do have a lot of guys that were high draft picks, high potential, high ceilings, and obviously, again, guys that want to take that next step in their career. There's a lot of guys in that kind of 20 to 23, 24 age range here, and you could tell how bad that they want to be players. So I think, again, anytime – again, for me, coming into that situation and just trying to use my experience to help those guys and things I would have hoped guys would have helped me with coming up in my career. So again, it's kind of that time to almost pay it forward in a way, in that way. And speaking of Dean, I think he's got that good temperament as far as again knows how to when it's time to keep things serious and accountable, but he's definitely got some of that wittiness and likes to keep it light and joke with the guys a bit too. So I think it's a good mixture to have.
That's good. I had him as assistant coach in Washington, and that's a good point. Like, he's not scared to put the hammer down when he has to put a hammer down at all, but he'd prefer to be, kind of joking and snarky and a little back and forth. He used to keep like an oops folder when he was an assistant. I don't know if he does it to you guys at all, but if you doing his video and then, say you're on the ice and you do something stupid away from the puck, like heel pick or do something dumb, and he'll put them all in one folder, and then he gathers everybody around, and everybody he'll have about 30 clips of guys doing stupid stuff on video, and then just get guys rolling. That was one thing I remember that he did. It was great. I obviously can't do it as a head coach. He might have passed that on to one of the assistants, but it's like
there's definitely, we got some of that going on for sure.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like you mentioned, like his kind of dynamic with the assistant coaches, like those guys got to keep on their toes too, because if they kind of mumble a few words or whatever, he's all over them. So, so that's been kind of funny to see.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, no, it's great, and especially too, James. Like, you've played for, obviously, Evanson's one of those guys. He kind of looks a little scary, you know what I mean? But then you also have Torts that you played for too. What's it kind of like to play for Torts? Like, obviously, you played for him a little bit towards the end with the Flyers that last year that you were a Flyer in your second stint. That was Torts' first year, coming with the team. Just kind of overall, what's it like just to kind of play for him?
Yeah, speaking of Torts, like I had a little bit of experience with them at the World Cup. Obviously, way different than playing for someone during the course of a NHL season. But I think the one thing that, especially as I've gotten older, I really appreciated about Torts is just it's black and white. It's like if he's something he wants to tell you or something he doesn't like about your game, whether you agree, disagree, or whatever it is, he's going to tell you. Maybe you have it out and then it's over with and you move on. So I think just that honesty, there's no tiptoeing around things. And I think, again, just that black and white of where you stand, what's expected of you, stuff like that. I think that's very beneficial to have just because there's no wondering every day when you go home or every day when you come to the rink where things are at and what's expected of you. He makes that crystal clear. And I think that's definitely a positive of his style.
Yeah, and I think it's funny you bring that up, and it's just it's easier to like kind of comprehend the older you get. When you're a younger player, you're a little bit like, oh, well, nobody's talked to me like that before, and nobody's did this, frank with me. It's usually everybody telling me how great I am, and you're gonna be great, and it's okay, and everything's gonna be all right. And some Torts kind of likes to tell guys, what, it's not okay right now, and I think. Again, once you kind of get over for younger players and maybe it comes with experience and getting older, more confidence in where your overall game is and what your body of work. But for some of the younger guys, and they're like, they have to cut through the shock of being told this and just listen to what he's saying, and absorb it. And it's going to be overall for your game. It's not to make it, he's not telling you that to make himself feel better. He's telling it to help the team be better, So it's, smart players take it to heart and they understand it and they don't take it so personal and they reflect and they put it in their game and then try it, like you said, try and forget it and move on and just add it to your game and move on. So it's certainly always that little give and take, listen to what he's saying, and trying to do something with it. So it gets easier to get older for sure. If you have him in an older part of your career, you're a little more confident. Yeah. You're like, But it's good information always maybe extends your career a little bit too as a player.
No, absolutely. And I think part of it too is on the other side of that is, again, as you are an older guy and you kind of can see maybe younger guys taking things to heart maybe too much, is making sure you talk to those guys. I remember early in my career, again, a guy like Scotty Hartnell was great with that for me, where I'd get maybe carved up by a coach or something and he'd come give me kind of a pat on the ass after, be like, hey, it's okay. You're doing a lot of good things. Just make sure you do this, and this, or focus on this. And then it's kind of over with. So it's, again, it kind of can seem like sometimes when you're younger, depending on your personality type, like the world's kind of falling down. But I think that's part of having a good locker room and having good veteran guys who have been around a while to be able to kind of take the message without maybe worrying too much about the delivery of it and taking the positive of what's trying to get across and moving on from there.
Sometimes the kids have to understand the time they stop talking to you is not good. Like
exactly.
If they're talking to you, it's good or bad. Somebody's talking to you, it's really good. If they don't start, you don't hear from anybody. Typically, it's not great all the time. In the sports world, I think.
I agree with that.
Yeah. No, 100% too. And I feel like, especially too, I guess just kind of where the, right now where the Flyers are at. Obviously they're kind of changing a little bit. And I think that's been one of the biggest things is trying to figure out, some of the, the right guys just to kind of fit here. And James, like for you, like when you were here, it's two stints. So the, first couple of years you guys go to the cup final. You get traded a couple summers later, you go to Toronto, you come back in free agency. Is there any way that you could kind of just like, kind of sum up your time in Philly and just kind of how it went?
Yeah, no, there's definitely a little bit of a roller coaster ride over the course of, 8 seasons and 10 years in the organization.
Yeah.
Like you said, that first year, kind of getting a taste of the playoff hockey and making it all the way to the finals. And that's still obviously the farthest I've been in my career. And you're that close, getting it to 6 games and just couldn't get it done. And I think having some of those early playoff runs. Because again, I think the next year we made it to the second round, and I think maybe the next 2 years we may have made it to the second round. But but yeah, I think that definitely set me up to just have longevity in my career, just knowing what it took to play in that time of year. And I think that's always been a time when I've been able to raise my game in the playoffs. And again, that's not necessarily by accident. I remember, again, all the veteran guys I mentioned, those guys when I was breaking in. And speaking of someone like Danny Briere, like my first playoff run, like he thought I had more to give to the team, and he pulled me aside those first couple of years, and he was like, hey, just make sure, like, these opportunities, you don't know how often they come along, and if you want to be known as a guy who plays well in these pressure situations, that's only going to help you, A, help a team win, B, probably help make you some more money too, if we're being honest, and things like that. So it kind of help you recognize, like, these opportunities that you have, and they may not come along every year, and just to kind of, again, jump in fully each year and just have a little bit more of that urgency. And I think that was very important. Again, you think you have that urgency, but I think when you have someone like him at that point, I think he was like 35 or 36, kind of saying that to me as a younger guy, really, and that really resonated with me, and I think really helped me along. So yeah, that definitely helped set me up for the rest of my career.
Yeah, it's nice when an older guy, and he tries to spin it right here. It's either spin it. Do you want to be great? Do you want to be known? Do you want to leave a legacy? Yep. Do you want to make more money? Do you want to do this? Do you want to be a, if you're a $2 million player, do you want to be a $4 million player?
Yep.
However you spin it to the young guy, and try and get him to bite, right? Be like, to get it, finally the message to click. So it's always really nice. It's a big benefit when you're a younger player. I broke in with the wings, and we had Eiserman and Shanahan and guys like that. You learn a lot by just watching the older guys and subtle. If Danny was 30, in his mid 30s talking to you, it's like, when these guys are going to talk to me, I'm going to listen. And he had Chemo and those guys too around, and so it's I don't know. People, they like to make a big deal about that, but it's times that really helps having an older presence around. Really, but as a young player, you got to be open to listen and be like a sponge and kind of take what they're see what listen to what they're talking about and try and implement it as best you can.
Yeah, no, I think for me, like you said, like being a sponge, I've always tried to do that. I remember going into my first training camp, I remember my dad talking with me about that. Just be a sponge, because he saw the guys we had on that team and all the All-Star and Hall of Fame caliber players. And I'm sitting in the change room next to Chris Pronger, and I had Lappy sitting next to me in the locker room, and then guys like Jody Shelley, Brian Boucher over the course of those first few years. And those were great kind of influences on me as far as how to be professional, and some of the lessons that they kind of tell you over those first few years, where I don't even think they necessarily viewed it that way, but I just took it all in, as far as, again, like the kind of responsibility when you're one of the go-to guys, of consistency and having that approach so that you can be at best as you can each and every day. And it's not like you're playing one good game, one bad game, and alternating. You got to find that level of consistency. So I think, again, that was super helpful for me as far as setting myself up for the rest of my career.
Yeah, you bring up those four guys. You're talking about Pronger, Shelley, Ian, and then who was the other one you brought up?
Brian Boucher.
Brian Boucher, the goalie. So you got a goalie, you have a tough guy, you got a fourth line, really super energetic, and then you have a Hall of Famer, and it's like they still kind of think the same. They operate the same. Their skills are different, but they all have digested and adjusted to what it was going to take for them to be successful. And those are like tremendous personalities when you're a young player. Those are great personalities. There's kind of no bullshit with those guys. Like, they call them as they see them. They were, those are great guys to learn from. Like, really good influence on you.
No, absolutely. They knew the right balance too of because I think, again, when I sat in that corner with Bush and Jody, I don't think I've laughed as much in my career in a locker room just with those two guys. They had a funny dynamic going back and forth, and I'm just taking it all in as I'm sitting next to those two guys. So it was a great balance.
Yeah, you can see Jody a lot. He works for, right? He works for
exactly. Yeah, I get to reunite with him a bit for sure. Yes,
that's when you know you're getting old. When now it's guys you played with, they're doing like ED and their management and stuff. That's always another. And you see them there, and now they're on the bench behind you, and you're like, oh my god, I played with this guy.
Yeah, it's speaking of that, it was funny. I had one of the guys on the team. he comes up to me in the locker room. He was like, "So wait, did you cross paths with like Mats Sundin and Cujo at the Leafs?" And those are like a generation before me. I'm like, "How old do you think I am?" Like,
yeah.
so that's so funny.
Your crew probably played in video games, right? So like, man, I play you all the time. You're the video game. You're my guy, man. You know, I was like, your rating. I was like, your rating was too high. Your rating was too low. Like they always chirped about your rating. Young guy.
That's funny.
Yeah.
James, for you know, just going back, you mentioned Danny a little bit. You know, just kind of like how he kind of, you know, brought you under his wing and kind of things like that. Does that kind of speak to kind of, you know, how he could be as GM too? I know he kind of took in his intern when you were kind of, you know, on your way out coming from Philly, in that last year. But, you know, just kind of speak to, you know, kind of what, you know, Danny kind of is and just kind of, you know, as a teammate, but also as kind of GM too, from like your experience with him.
Yeah, I mean, my experience with him he was a very cerebral guy. Wanted to learn things about and the way he kind of approached the game and look at the game. Like I remember still to this day him telling me about just goal scoring. He actually showed me my shootout move that I still use to this day. As far as he's like, you got such a long reach. He's like, you just gotta, if you move the puck all the way across from your backhand to forehand and try to expose over the pad under the blocker, like you should be able to hit that shot every time. And that's been pretty good advice for me, and that I got to keep that to myself, right? But I got a couple backup sets. It's all good. I set that one up and go to something else. But no, he was very cerebral. Even stuff like I know he would tell me like when he was coming in the zone, like he would look at like kind of the hash marks and the lines on the ice. He wouldn't really look at the goalie, so he knew based on that where he was going to try to find his spots. So just little stuff like that, like you knew that he had that kind of. Mentally, he was like thinking about the game a little bit outside the box and things like that. And I think, again, one thing I really respect about him is when he was done playing, like all the steps he took to try to set himself up to be in this position now, where I think, again, obviously started doing some things through Comcast and working his way up the totem pole. And I think he even took some business classes to learn about just things like that to really – so when he was able to get an opportunity like he has now, like he was ready to hit the ground running. So this was I think it was probably like a 5 to 8 year process of work that he went through and kind of touched all these different levels of management to, again, set himself up to try to have some success and do a good job there. And obviously with him and Keith Jones too, just world-class people. So those are two guys that you want to work for and you want to do well for, and that's a big part of it as well. So yeah, just happy to see those guys getting things going back for the Flyers to get them back to their rightful place in hockey.
Yeah, no, 100% to it, and you know, especially too because I think Danny was GM in Maine too. So like kind of like what you said, like he did a lot of different things to just kind of like build himself up. The next one I have is kind of for the both of you guys. You guys both played for USA Hockey in really high levels. Mike, you played at the Olympics, World Championships as well. JVR, you were World Juniors. I think World Cup as well, like you mentioned. Just in terms of that, how just how special is that to play, for your country and just kind of like USA Hockey and just kind of like put that jersey on and like that feeling is just probably so special. I could only imagine.
Go ahead, James.
Yeah. I'll take it first. Yeah, you said it. I think me starting off going to the U.S. program, I think that really you're like 16 years old. You're going over to Slovakia to play in like a 4 or 5 nations, and you kind of think about how cool this is that you're able to do something like this at this age, and it just the stakes obviously get higher. I mean, for me, being able to do like U18s, World Juniors, World Championships, World Cup, and then the pinnacle for me, like one of the coolest moments of my career was the Olympics in Sochi in 2014. So yeah, that's you get chills kind of thinking about that stuff. It's a pretty big honor, and again, obviously the USA Hockey is just thriving, and just to get a chance to represent your country on those stages is I'll always look back on those things super fondly. So yeah, those were great memories and a big honor any chance you get to do that.
Yeah, it's funny. Like it's just so much. U.S. hockey is just so much more organized now. You know, and the ID kids much younger. There's more money and more organization to it. And like your crop there, you know, where were you playing as a 15 and 16-year-old? Where'd you play?
So when I was coming, I was in Jersey before, and then when it was in Ann Arbor, my 2 years at the U.S. program.
So to be found for Ann Arbor, where were you? You were just playing where?
I was playing in Jersey. I was playing high school, and I was actually playing Brick Hockey Club Tier 2 back then.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. So
it's kind of funny, a wild route.
Yeah, where they find these guys, you know, and then you know you move on to be like a second overall pick. But I mean, I didn't really get. A World Junior wasn't my thing, and then like to your point, the high point to make the Olympic team is a lot of fun. And it's funny because our group in 06, it was like the Kachuks, the Garins, the Doug Waits, that crop. We were kind of like they were right on the edge. I think Ryan Miller might have been our third goalie, and then it was like 2010. It was like, I guess it'd be 4 years later. That 06 group, it was kind of the end of that group, and then the incoming group be like you, like Kane, kind of this crop that came in and took over. So, but that was great. I mean, you guys played in Russia. We played in Italy. We're kind of like the forgotten Olympics between Salt Lake and Vancouver, and then nobody can really remember. That was us, but yeah, it's pretty neat. Skiing that first warm up, I think the Olympics had all the names on the jerseys, and you're like, holy cow, like we're in it here. This is it. So always a big thrill to play for the U.S.
James, you mentioned the 2014 Olympics. What was going through your mind when Oshie had the shootout against Russia? That was crazy.
That was insane. So, and speaking of the shootout moves from Danny, I did actually use that move there and hit the post on Bob.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
But no, Oshie, I mean, obviously we had all watched him in the NHL do his thing, and it's like, how many times is he going to be able? I think he had 3 variations pretty much of the same route he took down the ice, and he just took what was there. And it's like, how many times is he going to be able to do this? Because I remember in World Juniors, this was probably like maybe, 2007? We had a similar thing where we had Jack Johnson, Peter Mueller, and they were going like toe-to-toe with Taves, where these new rules where you could keep sending the same guy up, and they made a few in a row, and I'm like, geez, this is going to be one of those, and it's just back and forth, and every time he just ice in his veins. So that was a pretty special moment to be a part of. I remember for that game, actually, my parents back home in Jersey, I think it was like 7 a.m. local time. It was super early, but they got this local spot, this local bar that they got opened up to host kind of a watch party. And I remember just getting some videos from my buddies and my parents and brothers and stuff like that. So those bring back some great memories. But that was a pretty epic display from Ocean in that game.
So back to your days with the program in Ann Arbor. Did you go to Pioneer High School then?
I went Pioneer High. Yep.
Yeah, and then why did you choose to go to New Hampshire?
Yeah, so for me, there was a few teams kind of in the running. It was like BU, BC, Michigan, Notre Dame, and UNH, and I just thought the fit at UNH was the best. I thought I'd have the best opportunity to kind of step in right away and play a pretty meaningful role. And I thought, again, the coaching staff was going to be able to help me get to where I wanted to go. And just the college atmosphere at UNH was second to none there. I mean, we had a packed barn every night, and it was a lot of fun to play in college there. And it was close enough to home, too, where my parents could drive to come see every game. So kind of all those elements played a part of it. And it was definitely had a great experience there.
No, it's definitely good answer. In terms of the next one I have here is for the both of you guys. What's kind of the secret of playing in front of the net? Like, both of you guys are always, both really good guys just playing in front of the net in terms of like tipping pucks, putting your body in places. Mike, you said to me before that was essentially your bread and butter. James, you were always really good at that as well, just getting in front, tipping pucks, things like that on the power play and all that. For both of you guys, what was the, I guess just the whole secret of just kind of playing that front?
Yeah. You know what? Well, I definitely don't have to take the abuse that Mike probably had to take over the course of his career, because the rules are a little different now. So the probably the most abuse I had was playing against Prongs in practice, who didn't when there's no refs on the ice, he thought it was 1991 again. So he wasn't scared to get in there with the cross checks. But I think for me, I've just always been comfortable there. I feel like the game slows down for me there. The positioning and the timing, I feel like, comes natural to me. Obviously, speaking of having good veterans, I remember my first year, like, that was never really a position I overly played, like, through college and the U.S. program, like, or really made that part of my identity as a player. And Prongs would take me out before practice, and he'd be hammering slap shots at me, just working on my hands and tipping. And he was like, "Hey, this could be something that you could be really good at. So you should make sure that all these skills you have." And he would do stuff like that. Joe Mullen, I'll have to give him a shout out too, because he would fire pucks in the after practice, and we'd do like little hand scoring stuff. And a guy like that at 500 goals. So to learn from guys like that was amazing. So I think, again, it's a combination of, I think it did come a little bit naturally to me, but I did also put in some time to really develop my skills and stuff like that to become super comfortable there. And from there, I think, again, I've learned some of the nuances of it, and the positioning, the timing, and things like that. So it's definitely somewhere, obviously, I feel super comfortable playing on the ice.
It's interesting. Like, they didn't force feed you a little bit, but kind of said, "Hey, why don't you try this?" I think for young players and coaching Grand Rapids, when we have prospects come through there, it was a tough sell on some guys. Like, they don't see the value in it. You made it obviously a real name for yourself. I mean, we have this code, like JVR was a code for what that. It's kind of like you grab it, spin with your ass, and it kind of just a download play. We call it, like JVR. So that means something. You just refer to it as the JVR, because you guys know what they're talking about. So, that means that you have obviously carved out a real nice niche in there. And, again, for me, it just made terrific sense that the puck was coming there. Why wouldn't you be hanging around in this area?
Right.
And
that's my thought process too. Yes.
You don't have to ski all over the ice, where it's got to go. So just hang around there. And so that's where it made the most sense to me. And I'm like, I can get a lot of touches and extra points and stuff by just getting their stick on pucks here. And then you touched on some nuances, kind of picking up the nuances. And it's not like somebody can, like, teach you, like, here's what you need to pick up, A, B, C, and D, and this is how you do it. You kind of figure it on your own. You're like, okay, well, if, you learn how your D-men shoot the puck, like so-and-so always shoots it low, so-and-so is wild, so-and-so doesn't know where it's going, so-and-so is smart about actually looking for sticks, and other guy just puts his head down then being on the right side of the fence and keeping your stick available, for tips, and not like, and finding your best pathway to get there, and being a little hardier, a little slimier around the net, and then being real hungry on rebounds and stuff. That's just the stuff you learn, and you kind of put it together, and some kids can't quite all see when you learn one thing that it leads to another thing, and then I got to figure out the next thing, and I got to figure out, my next important thing, like being a real, like, tracking rebounds and anticipation and being ready, like you said, getting beat up by Pronger. Like, it's not easy, and I appreciate the credit, but it was the 2004 lockout when things, they calmed guys like Pronger down and Darian Hatcher. So the guys who swing big sticks. So the guy who really deserves the credit is Dino Cicerelli. I mean, the Busito play amazing. I mean, he's the godfather of it all. But yeah, no, it's sometimes a tough sell on prospects and younger players. But you can play a long time in the league if you're good at it.
Yeah. I feel like some guys just want to massage the biscuit around on the half wall more. But again, it's like you said, a very productive area of the ice. You look, especially in the playoffs, all the goals are scored within 8 to 10 feet of the net, and it's that's again, it becomes super valuable.
I know, it's like the percentages speak for themselves, right? And it's like, guys, why won't you hang out where all these percentages are?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's so hard and so difficult. It's so easy at the same time to understand. It's like, it makes perfect sense, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like for me, like I remember when me and Mike were starting this show, one of the things that when I was trying to get everything together, like in terms of just like the branding and all that different stuff, like I'd look up pictures of like different things of Mike just to try and find, and pretty much all the game ones are just like Mike like stick down in front of the net, because it's like always where he was. So it's like little things like that, and I'm like there's so like it's so funny, like there's so many of them that are just like right in front of the net, like net front power play, all that stuff too. And then a lot of them, on the other side of that are just like celebrations, like from just like being in front of the net, things like that too. So, just one of those things that's just funny that kind of comes across. But just in general, like what clicks so well, just in terms of playing with Tippett and things like that.
Yeah, I think again, just as far as the chemistry piece, when we were together, I think with those two guys, I think we all had kind of skill sets that complemented each other. Like again, with those two guys, like obviously Frosty with his kind of creativity and how he's able to dominate on the puck and really hang on to it and try to find the extra play. And then someone like Tip, who's so powerful and strong and has obviously a pretty elite shot. And things like that. And then someone like myself around the net, trying to extend plays and playing more on the cycle and things like that. So I think we had that sort of chemistry like that. And I think that was good. I think just the three of us together, we were thinking the game on the same level. And I think that sometimes that's half the battle, is just those tendencies where we're all already kind of thinking the same thing. Obviously, anytime you're playing with new line mates or whatever, you're trying to talk through what you're thinking in certain scenarios just to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're all trying to, again, accomplish the same thing. And we had a lot of that, I feel like, fairly naturally with some of that stuff. So I think, again, especially for younger guys coming in, I think usually the hardest part is figuring out, I know it was for me anyway, just like the offensive zone play and how it's, again, it doesn't always have to be the sexy play and throwing it back to the behind the net and starting from there is seemingly now it's the most effective play in hockey, and it's just throwing the puck back there, and you look at every team looks for it. They throw it behind the net, try to find the guy in the slot. So I think us kind of getting a taste of that, having some success with that. I think that was one of our first games together, the Arizona game. I remember everything was going in that game, but I think again the proof was in the because I remember us talking about that. I was again talking with those guys about those sorts of whether it's when we're on the forecheck and it's a contested puck, chop it behind the net east west, or if we're climbing on the cycle, we have nothing, just chuck it behind the net. And we had obviously a fairly successful game there, and I think again it opened our eyes to just playing that style and how effective it is and how hard it is to play against.
Very nice when you can find a couple guys you click with, right? And it doesn't take too long to you do three or four different things each well, and kind of all like you said, compliment is the word, right? And one guy's pretty good at this, the other guy's better at that, and you realize what you're good at, and then you kind of mesh it all together. And again, there's no playbook or no rule book and telling you how to do it. You just kind of figure it out, and that's always it's refreshing, and it's fun to play, right? As a player, it's fun. You're looking forward to the games, and we're going to do great tonight. It's a good feeling entering the ice with your line mates and feeling like, hey, we got a chance to do really well tonight. Like,
when things are more instinctive and intuitive. Yeah.
Game's a lot more fun that way.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no. Just in terms of just kind of the rest of the season, James, best of luck. That's all we got. Mike, you got anything else, or all good?
No, I appreciate you coming on. I wish you best of luck this season. And again, when coaches in other leagues and stuff describe something that happens on the ice, KVR.
Yeah, right.
Really I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's good. So congrats on all your success, and wish you a healthy and a productive year this year. And make sure to tell my buddy Dean I said hi.
Yeah, I'm going to tell him tomorrow.
Yeah, we appreciate you joining us today, man. Thank you for taking time.
Yeah, absolutely, guys.
Yeah, thanks, James. Appreciate it.
No problem.